Each weekend for the past 50 years, thousands of Oklahomans have welcomed Oklahoma gardening into their home. Generations, including myself, have been influenced by this how-to gardening show. While many gardening programs have come and gone over the years, Oklahoma gardening has stood the test of time, thanks in part to the integrity of being an OSU Extension product, as well as its commitment to research-based information. It is my pleasure to present Rooted in Oklahoma, celebrating 50 years of Oklahoma gardening.
People in Oklahoma love their gardens.
I feel like this is the people's show.
This show has presented Oklahoma State University to the entire world in a way other than sports, other than even straight academics, as providing the essence of the land-grant system. It is the complete package.
Gardeners are just good people.
OETA wanted to partner with OSU Horticulture and do a short-time seasonal segment on gardening for Oklahomans. Almost a year later, probably a year later, they came to me and said they're starting that show, and Joe Maxson, who was working on his doctorate degree in Ag Ed, but a horticulture student at that time, was going to be hosting the show. And would I give him support when he needed it?
And we started out basically as a vegetable show. It was a vegetable food production show, and we had very little on other types of crops that you see now. We didn't get into perennials, we didn't get into the ornamentals hardly at all.
All of the shows were recorded in the studio in Oklahoma City at OETA. And there was a concern that you could get better quality pictures if you did it outside. And they ended up building a garden set outside, putting in a lot of plants and a staging area where you could demonstrate.
It was actually a real breakthrough for Extension. We had very, very little ways to reach our audience, of course, except through personal communication. But still, with the television, we could reach more masses.
You could not record any TV programs. So if you wanted to know what was going on in the program, you had to watch it and take notes. So we know people that watched it 4 times. It was on 4 times a week, and they would watch it and take notes. They'd watch it again, make sure they didn't miss anything. In the programs, he set it up in such a way where he was telling ahead of time all of the extension horticulturists and the extension offices in the state what bulletins and what fact sheets would be available.
The mid-'70s was really a beginning of a real interest in environmental awareness, in gardening and growing your own stuff. And so people became very interested in gardening at that time as well, and how to grow their own food.
And so they knew ahead of time, and then they would have them ready so that when people saw the program, then they would be able to go in and get them. Oklahoma County found that after a program, within 6 days, they were being contacted by a huge number of people, like 5,000 people who were requesting things.
I guest hosted a lot with Raymond Kays while he was hosting too, because he was very busy as well. When he retired, my department head came to me now and said, "Oh, by the way, we want you to host Oklahoma Gardening since you got some experience with it." And I said, "Well, I can try, I guess." Joe Maxson did all of them live down in the studio, and Professor Kays did, and we did them inside a studio with just a table that we put stuff out. We take things down from the greenhouse or from wherever we could gather stuff and put them out on a table and do more of a tabletop demonstration of things. And we got one chance to do it. They didn't do retakes. The only thing that you could redo is if they really, really, really messed up.
You all have been a great audience. We've enjoyed hearing from you. Now next week we're going to introduce you to the new host.
In the summer of '86, we were holding a vegetable research field day at Bixby. And Gene Allen, who worked in the Ag Communications Department, came up to me and said, "Say, Sue, can we just interview a spot, like a video, a spot with you and talk about these herbs?" I said, "Well, we've covered it in the field day." And he said, "No, just talk about rosemary." I said, "Okay." I don't know. Well, it was a kind of a what do you call it, a screen test. And I didn't know that. I didn't know they needed another host for the show. And so I did it, and I got a call a few days later from campus saying, we need you to co-host Oklahoma Gardening. We've lost, but Paul Mitchell can't do it anymore, and so you're gonna co-host with Jim Gallett.
Welcome to Oklahoma Gardening. I'm Jim Gallett, Tree Fruit and Pecan Extension Specialist.
And I'm Sue Gray, Extension Horticulturist from Tulsa County.
Jim had the greatest depth of horticulture knowledge of anybody I ever knew. It was learn as you go in a lot of ways. As you know, if you plan for a segment, you need to study that subject ahead of time. And we would plan who would do what segment, and we would sometimes open the show together, sometimes not.
Now we're here at Tierra Vista Greenhouses in Tulsa. We've picked out a whole array of foliage plants to show you, things that you can bring into your home right now and brighten things up for you. As the garden developed, as I said, this was just an open field. Right. And Carol Smith came up with the idea for kind of curved beds, and then when Steve Dobbs came on board, he really developed the landscape. Well, last week, Ray and I wrapped up our final show on Oklahoma Gardening, and we're back this week to welcome our new host and introduce him to you.
This is Steve Dobbs.
The story with Ray goes back a very long time because he taught some of my first horticulture classes. He was my advisor. We kept up over the years, you know, because I ended up being an extension in a county position. And I got this call from Ray asking if I would be interested in this position, which was a extension consumer horticulture position. He told me to turn in an application and apply, and then the next thing you know, he's called and said, I have an interview. I didn't really think of it as a TV show. It really, to me, was just an extension program to reach more people about gardening. You know, you're out doing programs and different communities and stuff, and somebody just stops you and recognizes your voice. It definitely caught me off guard because, I just thought of it as an extension program, and that showed how you're really going into people's homes on TV, and they look at it a little bit differently. This was a great way to promote OSU and Extension. You know, it reached a lot of people on a given weekend or Saturday. We used to say that it was so big, the viewership on a weekend, that it would easily fill the football stadium plus many times over. Well, at that time, we had a studio garden manager who was trying to help us with the show a little bit and getting things ready on the garden side of it, but then he had to maintain it too. And then we had the cameraman. So there was just a team of 3 and we were doing all of it. And so we came up with Oklahoma Gardening Ambassadors, and it worked magically because of their different personalities. Some wanted to get out and help pull weeds and make sure the gardens looked good. We had some that were great builders who could help us build things in the gardens to make it look good. And we had other ones that were so organized and had people skills, they could help sell t-shirts and greet and give tours at the gardens.
Well, one of these volunteers is Mr. Olin Thomas from Stillwater. Olin, welcome to Oklahoma Gardening.
He is a good guy. We really enjoyed working with him.
And he was full of ideas. He came up with a million ideas, and then we had to follow through and develop them.
Steve was starting the volunteer program, and he had this vision of what we could do. When we've come this far on the TV show Oklahoma Gardening, and it's really popular. I think it was their most popular show. So we can really do something here, and he got us all fired up. So we got involved, and I think it worked out. And we're still growing. We haven't stopped growing yet.
You're having to come up with a lot of different segments for a long part of the year, of course. And so we would get feedback through some surveys that we had done. And, you're teaching people how to grow the produce or the vegetables or the herbs. And it was just kind of a natural thing to show people how to use it.
Well, today joining us in the kitchen is Barb Brown.
I think Ray had been watching the national version of our show, and he decided that he would like a kitchen component as well. So Ray gave me a call and asked if I'd be willing to go down to Oklahoma City with him, where he was taping at the time, and bring all the equipment that I might need. My goal was to teach two things: basic skills, some degree of knife skills and things like that, different types of cooking methods, but also how to prepare fruits and vegetables, because Oklahoma has been known as being a very low consumer population for fruits and vegetables in general. So tying that in with the garden, we focused primarily on produce. And gradually over the years, I got brave and would throw in different kinds of meats, and even braver and would occasionally throw in wine or alcohol of some sort, because I wasn't sure how that was going to fly with the Oklahoma public. Cooking outside is always a joy because you never know quite what you're going to get with the weather and the insect population. So that there's always either sweat dripping down you, or you're cold and your feet are frozen, or you've got a bug flying in around your face or flying in your nose or something. People that come to extension events, including Garden Fest, they're an awesome group. They want to know what you have to say. They're polite, they're kind, they're enthusiastic, all the things you want an audience to be when you're standing in front of them. From that standpoint, it's been glorious all the way along. I'm probably the oddball out. I'm in with the group a little bit less than most of the other people, but I have not found a bad host or a bad cameraman. This show attracts really good people.
You all might remember last year I came on the show as interim host and have enjoyed this past year tremendously. During that time, we've been happy to find a new host for the show, and that's Brenda Simons. And a lot of you already know Brenda. Brenda's been on the show with us off and on throughout the year, and we're really glad to have you here.
Well, Sue, I'm really glad to be here. I'm excited about being a host.
Oh, I was scared to death. I'm not naturally a public speaker or anything like it, but yeah, it was just a really big learning experience. But it was cool though. It was fun. You know, we'd go to places where they were, you know, the water garden tours, or just home, you know, garden tours and things like that, and then growers. It was just always fun people to work with, and then also just really fun to meet, again, people around the state.
Let me have you over there by your drink cup, Steve, and I'm going to have you walk at an angle.
John Bodie had been the videographer for many, many years, and then he retired, and we hired Kevin Gregg.
So that's when Kevin got started.
Yeah, that's when Kevin got started.
I started doing the show August of 1998. Back then, we used to basically shoot the entire show on one day.
And then Kevin would edit it and then get it to the city by Friday at, I don't know, whatever time, so that they could air it.
And so we had a really hardcore deadline.
We ended up hiring Steve Owens as the garden manager.
While I was garden manager, Brenda was super nice. She would let me do a few segments every once in a while. I had such a good time. I learned so much, just getting to create some of the gardens. We did some really cool things. We built the patio garden. We also did the Japanese garden that's down there, the rock garden, and we had, yeah, just a great time.
So my first role out here was as I was a student worker, and Steve Owens was the garden manager. And if y'all know anything about Steve, he is extremely knowledgeable when it comes to plants, and he taught me a lot. Steve loved design, and so he was very grateful that Brenda let him do a lot of the design out here at the garden. He loved to choose the plant material. He loved to choose the hardscape that was in the garden. That was something he was very comfortable with.
I thought, hey, this is kind of cool. I can do this, and then be able to apply once Brenda left, and I was so fortunate to be selected.
Steve, I want to welcome you to Oklahoma Gardening.
Well, thank you
as
very
a new
much.
host.
In 2002, we started taking the show on the road a little more.
With the vast openness of the Oklahoma Panhandle, the winds really...
Up until that point, Oklahoma Gardening had never traveled out to the Panhandle.
We would go out for basically an entire week to that region and spend usually 10, 12-hour days shooting as much as we could.
And we went out there and did like a 3-day tour and shot several gardens, several home gardens in the Panhandle, because those people live in Oklahoma too.
Meeting people was one of my most favorite things. You go to somebody's house and they open up that gate for their backyard, and it's like all of a sudden you're seeing paradise.
Everywhere you go when you're visiting at home gardens, people are so excited to share what they've done. And I think that's what made those visits so special, just like that excitement. And they love to be on Oklahoma Gardening. I feel like this is the people's show. And then maybe once or twice a month, we'd travel to different places if we had an expert that we were going to visit or a site. So we got to really bring Oklahoma Gardening on the road, which I think is one of the great things about the program.
I really kind of pushed to do more and more, not just Oklahoma City and Tulsa, which was a lot of the remote stuff before. I wanted to get out there.
Our biggest travel, the one abroad, was to Japan. We tagged along with the study abroad program, and we got to film some of the most amazing gardens in the world in Kyoto, that area, and Tokyo. Oh, it was fabulous. I loved how vibrant everything was up there. I think there's something about the sun, the angle of the sun or the intensity of the sun, everything just popped.
The gardens here at Umekuji Park bring these three elements together.
And then when we came back, we focused some programming, because we have two beautiful Japanese gardens here at the studio.
Right.
And we talked about how we can apply some of the concepts here and what kind of plant material, because of course we can't use all the same plants that we see in the Japanese gardens, some of them.
Right.
And so it was fun to make that connection and bring it back home. The Botanic Garden provided a lot of opportunity as well. There was a lot of expansion during my time as host, and the department worked to introduce the public to this space. You know, we have these beautiful gardens, and so we opened it up more to the public.
Our garden ambassadors are on hand to show you around and answer any questions you might have. So come on out and visit us.
Of course, every year there were maybe a handful of gardens that we were redesigning. Those types of projects offered opportunities for, educating homeowners how to install a rain garden. And so with Oklahoma Gardening, it's very relatable for people.
But I want to introduce you now to a new host that will be starting next year with our gardening season as we begin in the spring.
I was very familiar with the show. I had always been out here from high school to being in college doing plant ID, and so it was really nice to come back here and learn how to do television. Make sure to move out any irrigation lines so you don't puncture them. Also move away any mulch. And I truly believe horticulture is sort of the gateway to agriculture. And we so often hear that more and more people are getting disconnected from agriculture and their food, and they're moving into these urban environments. And I feel like, if you can just get somebody out into the backyard to do a little gardening, that is just a little breadcrumb that maybe entices them to connect with agriculture on a bigger level. One of the things that I've always tried to do on this show is not only show diverse subjects, but show processes.
So now we're ready to bottle. So take your bear.
Okay.
And you'll place it under there and pull down on the lever.
So here we have 3, 4, and 5, and therefore we know that this is a square corner. I wanted to kind of review how we go about harvesting our basil. I would just say that Oklahoma Gardening, the show, epitomizes the land grant mission. It really brings together what research is doing and extends it to our larger audience, not only in Oklahoma, but on an international scale. And I don't think you can quantify that or put a monetary value on that. Both the legacy over the last 50 years and what it has meant to so many people, but also what the potential of that is going forward.
Oklahoma Gardening has been really a keystone program for our department and for our college and really for the university. It reaches a lot of people across our state. The great thing about it, this cooperation with OETA, is that, it plays all across Oklahoma and other parts of the United States as well.
The legacy of Oklahoma Gardening is unmeasurable and hopefully will continue to be so because gardening is not going away. And if anything, it has probably started growing exponentially.
When someone comes into the office, it's great to be able to refer them to one of our fact sheets, which we have fact sheets on all kinds of horticulture topics. But probably for me, one of the best things I can do is to refer them to the YouTube channel for Oklahoma Gardening. With the YouTube channel, they can find topics related to almost anything gardening they're interested in. It's just an absolutely ideal way for people to learn about gardening and get the tips they need to help them succeed.
So none of the other hosts have really had to manage or think about social media, but that is a big thing for us and something that we're always kind of talking and working on behind the scenes as well. We've got a big following on our YouTube channel and making sure that information gets uploaded and looking at those analytics and stuff as well.
On YouTube, it starts kind of slow, but it's one of those that the more you have, the longer it's there, it builds. I mean, we've got some videos that have close to 4 million views. I guess you guys do. Now, I still have a little possession in there. And so then kind of the natural progression of that is that we had all of this old back catalog of old shows on tapes. And tapes that were starting to get past their sell-by, quite frankly, as far as how long you can expect a tape to work. Because they do have a lifespan. So we started putting what we called the Oklahoma Gardening Classics channel together and started basically digitizing all of this.
One of the very favorite spots for almost everyone on our campus.
One of the tools I'd like to show you today is how you can build a PVC watering wand.
Hello, Steve.
This is your first time on the show, and we're glad to have you here.
You know, people are realizing the importance of putting trees in and including trees in that initial budget.
We would have, experts from the university, but also across the state support us with their knowledge, being featured guests on the show. It really kind of expanded what we can do.
And in Extension, we do impact people's lives, and I kind of developed a motto over the years. If at the end of the day, I've helped one person and I've learned something myself, that's a great day. And that's what it's all about, is helping other people.
A new feature each week, and that's gardening for children.
You know, anytime we would visit or we would get mail or go do segments with people, it was always the same. I mean, they were so excited and loved being outside and just friendly and welcoming and again, just passionate about what they're doing. And, you know, doing that in Oklahoma with all the different environments that we get, you've got to be tough and passionate about it to make it happen.
Those excellent tips were given to us by Warren Philly of Edmond, Oklahoma.
People in Oklahoma love their gardens. It was so cool to be a part of that, because when we would come to someone's house, to their garden, they were like, this is the ultimate. I'm on Oklahoma Gardening. My garden is featured on Oklahoma Gardening. They were just overwhelmed that we would want to come there. And it was so cool to be a part of that.
Start my move. I can't even begin to think how you would add up the monetary impact of the show on Oklahoma State University. It showcased Oklahoma State University, I would say, in a crazy positive way, worldwide.
Whenever the Oklahoma Gardening started, as we know, there weren't any other gardening shows. And so there wasn't, I guess, competition. There wasn't anything that people really had to judge against. And to where now, I think we're right there at the, with the best of them.
I think the show offers now the same core value that it offered in the beginning, in that it enables people who don't know whether or not gardening is a good thing, how to go about it at all. It gives them something, as well as people who are at much higher levels of experience and expertise from their own background. If you don't know where to start in gardening and lawn care and food prep and food preservation, this is the place to go.
It's fun to eat, and it just isn't summer until you've had some. I hope you'll try one of these cooking methods. Keep the nutrition and the fun. For Oklahoma Gardening, this is Barbara Brown.
As I say, you can really learn a lot. And even, I'm an old man, and I can see stuff on the show that I say, hey, I never heard of that plant. So I'll Google it up, and I thought, I need to be on the lookout for that. I might want to grow that.
I think the fact that we are a respected part of Oklahoma State University, first of all, I think our connection with the university makes us legitimate. We don't try to sell anything. We don't try to, tell people things that we aren't sure of ourselves. Plus the fact that we have so many diverse things to talk about in gardening. I don't think that we give OETA enough credit for our popularity as well. They were very, very good partners with us in the beginning, and they are very good partners with us now. And they have given us a venue for us to put Oklahoma gardening out there to the people of Oklahoma. And so I'm very thankful and very pleased with the partnership we've had with OETA as well.
While hosting the show often comes with recognition, Oklahoma gardening is so much bigger than any one person. The past 50 years has been a true collaboration from everyone behind the scenes, the people at the gardens, as well as OSU administration, faculty, staff, and students, industry partners, sponsors, and of course, OETA. To everyone who helped bring Oklahoma gardening to life, including our loyal viewers both here in Oklahoma and beyond, we thank you. Your support has made these 50 years possible, and we look forward to growing with you in the years to come.
Try and get the answer. How about cucumbers growing up a trellis? Steve Dobbs does all that kind of stuff. He's the host of the regional PBS show, Oklahoma Gardening.
Good job, Alan.
I expect big bucks for this.
Now listen to me, kids, we have something to say. There's litter on the playground and it cannot stay.
You enjoy that as much as I did.
This is what we do at most shoots. We just kind of mill around and eat.
What you got, Laura?
Warning, warning, Will and Penny, cover the tomatoes. Frost approaching, warning.
Oh no!
It's cool.
Let's go.
Let's go. See you next week. Spring is springing.